welcome to AlphaOmegaRadio Composer Interviews. My name is Moreno, and today we have a special guest. We're at a bar in Brooklyn, and we're here with Corset Lore. So, what are some of the things you have learned as the more you perform in the scene, the chiptune scene?
Well, I started tracking my own stuff last year in January 2012. I have learned that preparation is key. You really, as much as on some level the songs, not that they have to be, structured and just played back, because a lot of people improvise, but having an idea of what's coming next and practicing that is a good idea in order to bring off a show that people understand or people can connect with.
For example, on the I.O. show that you did recently, which was the first time you performed at an I.O. show. I remember that was a big deal. This is the first time you debut at I.O.
Yes.
How do you select a song for a show like that?
I basically just thought, I want to open it by making an impression. And I just kind of picked sort of the loudest, sort of most statement-oriented song I have. And so A Squadron of Instinct was the one. And then, I think when you think about putting a set list together, it's kind of like you have to think about ebb and flow. You think about the crowd, you want to keep them up, but then you want to chill it out, take it down, and then bring them back up, and then, and then I also try to save something nice for the end, that's how that show went. When I played at Warper and Splice last month, I actually did something different. I took a piece out of the song I played at the end, and I put that at the beginning as an intro, and kind of messed with it, slowed it down a bit. I actually love guitar, and I think, I came into the chip scene actually when I was invited to do a guitarist remix by Glowmag of a Starscream song called Future and It Doesn't Work, which is an excellent song, and I was very honored to work on that with him. So I guess I would say that guitar has also been a big part of, my background. Glowmag saw me perform electroacoustic improv with guitars and laptop before that invitation. So I'm a big fan of the guitar and how it sounds in many different idioms. So.
one of the things that a lot of people wonder, and one of the things that is very interesting is how an artist picks their name, their stage name. Corset Lore, what's the story behind that name, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll tell you how that name came up. The real sort of this happened and this happened story is there is a sound engineer that used to come to the chip music shows a lot by the name of Anthony Trentinella. And when Pulse Wave was at the old tank, not the old tank because there's so many old tanks, but the one that was like between 9th and 10th Avenue and on 44th, I think, there was a Pulse Wave happening, and Anthony was there with his girlfriend at the time, and she is really into corsets. So we were talking about corsetry. And Anthony's kind of a funny fellow, so I guess we were talking about corsetry for a little bit too long. So he came over and I guess was just being, his jokey self, and I guess was cutting in on our conversation. And I turned to Anthony and I just said, Anthony, it's no big deal. We're just talking about Corset Lore. And after that night, I thought, that's kind of a cool name, or an interesting name, I hope, at the very least. So, I decided to don it. It was kind of the moment,
Right.
I mean, ask me now what I would pick, and it would probably be a different name, but, just because, I'm feeling differently.
On SoundCloud, you have a couple of songs, and one of them is the Breath Stop.
Yes.
Right. Very interesting song. It's marked as sound art, which I thought was very interesting. Tell us about what went into creating this song, this track.
That piece is actually non-chip. I had a SoundCloud page before I was making Game Boy music, and that's kind of one of my sound art pieces that I left up there. And that was basically a series of samples and loops. So the whole piece is basically like a bunch of rhythms created with breathing samples. Just like somebody taking a breath in, Yeah. And so I created sort of these rhythms out of that, and then I also took some. I used to do voiceover, so I took some.
I was going to ask you that because the voice is the voice is what makes it interesting. The way you read it, it's like it's almost if you were properly trained or if you have some experience with it. I think it's very interesting. It really kind of like came out, like it lashed out, and I was able to notice the fact that the voice part is very interesting. So what's your history with doing voiceovers?
I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that I'm not doing it anymore, but I'm not, I haven't done it for years and years, but when I left the publishing industry, I took on some voiceover work, and mostly reading children's books, so children's narration. Really fun. And I took some of the outtakes from some of those voiceover sessions.
Really?
And I mean, when I was in the studio recording, with the producers, and I was talking to them, so you can hear my voice recorded, but you can't really hear them.
Right.
So I just sort of was interested in, the idea that this conversation is happening, and they're giving me critique.
Right.
And, it's all about, like, voiceover is all about breathing properly in order to get the words out correctly. and deliver like a fluid performance. So that's kind of what it was. It's like the idea of working with your voice and the expectations behind that, you know, from producers. So it does sound like a conversation that I'm having, which it was, but they were all kind of like smashed together, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it was. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was really fun. I really enjoyed that piece.
I'm glad you have that online. I'm glad you have that up.
Oh yeah, I kind of forgot to take it down, and I kind of thought at one point, well, maybe I should take this down. I don't want to give people the wrong impression, but you know, it's. I think it's the only sound art track that's up there right now, and it's at the bottom. So if people get that far, then great.